Hey, what's up, guys? Roger here from The Real Breakdown. And guys, I just walked out of watching Dune Part 2. So I'm kind of at a loss for words, guys. So Dune Part 2, just walked out of it. I did the early fan screening, IMAX. I did the full thing, right? Walking out of it, what can I say, guys? This movie is a sprawling epic. Like, this is an event film. This is something that I think is going to be very successful at the box office, and I think that a lot of people are going to thoroughly enjoy this film. And maybe there are going to be some people that are a bit opinionated on it. I think last time I checked, it's got a really good Rotten Tomato score, I think around 97%. I think this movie, guys, is kind of made to be a hit. And so what can I say about it? First, let me talk about Dune, the first Dune. The first Dune was a film that I really enjoyed. I thought, this is my kind of sci-fi. So with that said, walking into Dune 2, I was pretty hyped. I was pretty excited. I'm a pretty big fan of Timothée Chalamet and his work. So I was very excited to kind of see what he had in store for this. Also, Denis Villeneuve, like, I'm a huge fan of some of his films, Arrival being one of them. I love that film. So you know that Denny can do some really good sci-fi. So walking into this, I had some pretty high expectations, and overall, I feel like they were met. Bottom line is, what I just put on my social media is, this is a really great film. Do I think it's an amazing... Do I love this film? Not necessarily. I feel like at times the film is a bit slow. At times I feel like I got to a point where I was like, I'm kind of tired of the sand. I'm kind of tired of hearing the thumper go off and we're calling another worm. And don't get me wrong, it's really cool and I love it. But there were a few times where I'm like, here's what I'll say. I found myself a good majority of this film thinking, okay, we're still building up. Wasn't that what kind of the first one was? Was a lot of build up? Well, not really. The first one was more introduction and you're learning about the world. And this one is more like, there was a lot of build up happening. And I was waiting for that moment of, okay, here's the big event. It's about to happen. Here's what we like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? And then finally, like towards obviously like the end of the film, the last third of the film, Act 3 is where it really picks up and you really start to get invested. So while I will say, and that to me is why it's not like, oh my God, I love this movie. And that's why I call it, this is a really great movie, because it is on all points, right? Acting, cinematography, directing, score, sound, everything, it's great. So I want to say that first and foremost. But I did feel like it was kind of like leading me on a little bit, and I was like, come on, get there, get there. But by the third act, oh my gosh, the story really picks up, and everything starts to happen, and I found myself fully invested, right? By the end of this movie, I wouldn't say I was at the edge of my seat, but I was as close to being at the edge of my seat as I could, right? I'm like, okay, come on. I want to see what's going to happen. What's going to happen with the Emperor? He's going to, oh my God, he's walking in, he's doing this, and like, what is he going to do with the Baron? Like, all these things. And obviously, guys, based off how I'm speaking, you know that I haven't read the Dune books. So this was all new for me. I didn't know what the storyline was going to be. So I was very excited to see where the story was going to take us, where Paul Atreides was going to end up, or Muad'Dib, right? I found the story to be really intriguing, a bit slow at times, but by the end, you do get a really great payoff. The acting across the board is fantastic. I think Timothée Chalamet, again, shows us why he's like the next generation of great actors, and why he has the potential to be one of the best. And I think Zendaya, I think, did a fabulous job as well. I was really interested by her character and where it went, where it led her. I wasn't really expecting it. Like I said, I don't know the story. And Rebecca Ferguson, wow, like, what an interesting character. I have to admit, I don't necessarily love where her character went and ended. I mean, at times I felt like, I don't know if she's the villain or if she's being kind of like an antagonist here. But by the end of it, I was sold on what she was doing. So I thought Rebecca Ferguson killed it, did fantastic. Javier Bardem, great as always. So all across, and Josh Brolin too, he was a great addition. I love when Josh Brolin shows up, is kind of when things start to pick up, and that's what I really enjoyed. So all of that was great. The entire filmmaking was great. This is a fantastic film. There's no wrong that can be done here, right? I think that what I will say that kind of took me by surprise, and it took me a while to adjust, was that as to where the first Dune is definitely a kind of a political kind of thriller, or there's definitely some sort of like political intrigue, and you're just like, oh, okay, so this is what's happening. So they set the Atreides up and they did this, and I was very, very invested in that, and I really enjoyed that. This one is pretty different. There's still some political intrigue. You actually kind of get some of that, in the second and third act, more in the third act of like, oh, this was your chess move, huh? Well, I'm about to do this. How do you think about that? And then there's some reveals at the end, right? But for sure, the first act and a huge part of the second act, and kind of like the through line of the film, is that this is like, how can I say it? Like, there's religious undertones all throughout this film. There's like a through line of religion, faith, and just like, prophecy and all this stuff. Obviously, that's kind of like what the whole story of Dune is. But I was just kind of taken aback as to how deep they went into it, and how thorough they were about this prophecy and the prophet and the religion, and I mean, honestly, it's really, really rich mythology, so I'm not complaining about it. I was just kind of taken aback because I figured it was going to be more in depth in like the political intrigue, and like the strategizing of who's going to win, who's going to take over, what's the emperor going to do, how does he play into it, what are the Harkonnens going to do. And it really starts off, and for the first solid hour, I would say, maybe more, there's a lot of like the mom doing like, oh, her Bene Gesserit stuff, and she becomes like, what's it called, a Reverend Mother and stuff like that. So there's a lot that goes into that, and I was not expecting it. So it took me by surprise. Not necessarily a negative, but something that I was kind of like, oh, we're going this way, okay. So there's that. Here's what I will say. This is where it's like, it's kind of a nitpick, but I have to say I'm not too happy about it, is that we get left off on a cliffhanger again. And it's like, didn't we do that in the first one? I thought I had heard a lot of people say like, oh, the first one, some people didn't like it. It's a lot of setup, but you're going to get the payoff in the second one. And yes, we did get payoff. I'm not saying we didn't. But also, we still leave on a cliffhanger, and now it's like an even bigger cliffhanger. So clearly they're vying for a third movie. So I've heard that they are working on Dune Messiah, or maybe they're not working on it, but it's rumored. Apparently it might still need to be like approved by the studio, but bottom line is there has to be a third movie. The way that they ended it, there's no way you can't not continue the film. And I think this film is going to be very successful. I know the first one wasn't, but you gotta think about the context that it came out in, pandemic and HBO Max same day release. I think that Warner Brothers is going to be very happy with the numbers, and Denis Villeneuve is going to absolutely be able to make his third movie. So, and I'm not going to lie, I will be there opening day if that happens. I definitely feel that this movie is good enough to where I want to come back and watch it again. And honestly, guys, I feel like this is one of those movies where I'm going to be thinking about it for the next few days and just kind of going back to it and just being like, what did I watch? Like not in a negative way, but like, I'm still thinking about it. My mind is still like, churning about it. I'm invested, guys. I love the world that they build. I love the story and intrigue that they have. I will say, if you're a person who's like, I don't like sci-fi, what are you doing? Like, why are you even watching this video? So like, don't go see this movie if you're not a fan of sci-fi. It's definitely heavy sci-fi. It's got more of that, I would call it Christopher Nolan, but now Denis Villeneuve kind of touch, where it's like, this is a movie you got to pay attention. It's deep. There's depth to it. They focus on character and storytelling, which I love, so I'm all for it. But if you just want nonstop action, this film has a lot of action, but there's definitely some moments where it's like, we're just building up these characters, so we're just in rooms talking. So I would definitely keep that in mind. But overall, guys, fantastic film. I'm very happy with it. Dune Part 2, out of theater reaction, out of theater thoughts. There it is. We'll see how this movie does, and hopefully there'll be a part 3 that we can do another out of theater reaction on. So with that said, guys, we will see you in the next one. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for what's next to come on The Real Breakdown.